Morning, or sorry, afternoon, everybody. So, thank you for turning up for another one of the live Q&A sessions. So, I'm running these every week at Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. So, if you're interested in watching in the future, the next week, so the 13th of December, will be at 9 in the morning because I do have a prior commitment. But from there, I'm going to settle into this 12 o'clock on a Wednesday rhythm. So, this is your chance to ask me any questions that you might have regarding strength training as an older adult. So that could be anything about getting started, or whether you're already doing it but there's something you struggle with or a sticking point you have, then feel free to ask me any questions you have. So if you're watching live, so this is going out simultaneously to YouTube and to Facebook at the same time. So if you're on YouTube, there's a chat feature, at least if you're on the desktop, there's a chat feature on the right hand side. If you ask me any questions there, that will pop up and I'll be able to see those. If you could do me a favour whilst you're on YouTube, if you could just click the thumbs up below this video and then subscribe to the channel, that will do two things. One, ensure you don't miss any future lives as I do them. But secondly, it does help the YouTube algorithm to kind of push this video out to more people who might be able to see it and then take action and sort of have the benefits of strength training from there. And equally, if you're on Facebook, then just leave your question in the comments below this video, and again that will pop up to me and I'll be able to answer those from there. And again, same thing, make sure you follow and just give the video a little thumbs up, and that will do both of those again to help this reach more people. So whilst I'm kind of waiting for any questions to come in, I've got a few things that I wanted to discuss first. So first one is for anyone who might have not started yet and they're waiting for January. So if your New Year's resolution is you're going to start going to the gym in January, or you're going to start running, or whatever that might be, please start thinking about making a plan now. Because if your goal or your New Year's resolution is purely I'm going to start going to the gym twice a week or 3 times a week, then you probably will have some motivation to start with, and you'll turn up and you'll have a workout and you feel excited and you feel like you've made a step in the right direction. But each time you go in, if you haven't then thought about what your end goal is and what you're working towards, and you haven't made a plan towards that, that short-term motivation is likely to wane, and you're probably not going to make it into February and keeping the consistency. So that now is the time to make that plan. So in December, if you're really set on you're going to wait till January and use this date, which I can totally get because it is going to be a busy time over the next few weeks, but at least try and find some time to make the plan now. So whether that's on each time you go into the gym, what exercises you're going to do, have an idea of how many repetitions you're going to start to do on various weeks, what weight you might need, whether that's equipment you're going to need, which we'll come on to shortly. But these are all things you need to think about now, rather when you've walked through the door on that first session and you're all a little bit lost and flustered and don't know what's what or where everything is, and you forgot about the fact that other people have got the same plan as you and the gym's busy and what you hope might be free isn't free. So yeah, little plea from me, because it's a lot of mistake I see a lot of people make for New Year's resolutions, is just hoping that short-term motivation will provide them all the answers they need when they turn up to the gym. And the planning stage is a bit that everybody misses, or not everybody, but a lot of people miss, that is so important. So that could be with anything online. So it doesn't need to be anything connected with Never Told to Lift. You can do that by just Googling how to get started in the gym, or beginners programs or things like that. If you did want a bit of help, then I've got a completely free, let's hide that one, completely free ebook that will guide you through the process of creating your own 12-week strength training program. It will help you pick exercises that are going to work for you and any potential restrictions you might have, whether that's restrictions in shoulder mobility, any arthritic knee pain, chronic fatigue, etc. There's almost always a starting point for each exercise, so that's going to help you with that. Again, completely free of charge. You just need to go to nevertoldtolift.com/start-here, but I've put it in the description of both the YouTube and Facebook, wherever you're watching this. So all you need to give is your email, and that'll be emailed straight back out to you. That is also available on Amazon as a paperback copy if you did want a more physical copy to hold, because I know reading on a screen is not always easy. So if you just go to Amazon and search Never Told to Lift, you should see that pop up. You might also be interested now, I'm running a giveaway at the moment, so I think it's before the 17th of December. You'll win a paperback copy of Never Told to Lift, a paperback copy of Atomic Habits, which is one of my favourite non-fiction books, particularly if you've got a New Year's resolution in mind. It's going to talk you through all the small kind of changes you might need to make in order to have a big dramatic result. So I've read it multiple times through now, and it's one I try and read at least every couple of years. So I can't recommend that highly enough, but that's included as a prize. As part of the ebook or the book, you get a digital goal planner and workout template, and you can print that off. But if you did want a more physical copy of it, it's got everything kind of in there that can be taken to the gym. So that's included as part of the prize. And you'll also get a £20 voucher to spend in the Never Told to Lift store, where you can get hoodies and t-shirts, etc. So the link for that below is in the description. Once you've entered that, make sure you do go to your email, because you need to confirm your email to definitely be eligible to win the prize. And you can also actually win some bonus entries from there as well. So you can, by sharing on various platforms, you'll get a few bonus entries, and then if someone from that share, one of your friends, signs up, you'll also get some more bonus points, etc. So you read through as you do that, but it's a nice one there. So again, if you've got any questions right now watching this live, do use a comment or the chat feature to ask those questions. If you are watching the replay of this video, then again, do leave a comment. I will check those and make sure there's any comments that come in after the video is finished. I will then endeavour to answer on any future weeks. The other way you can do it is to email me. So it's chris@nevertooldtolift.com, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions there. So next, I had an email come through. So it says, "Hi Chris, questions I want would want answered are: how easy is it to start doing, i.e. need for equipment, etc. Also, how hard to go at it? How much effort is needed to see any changes? And can this be adapted for weak wrists and lack of mobility in shoulder?" So it's kind of three questions in one there. So I'm going to start to take those question by question there. So how easy is it to start strength training, and what equipment is needed? So understandably, people get a bit daunted by, or a bit intimidated is probably the better word for strength training, and you see people lifting the big heavy barbells with loads of weight on and grunting and everything like that, and it can appear quite an intimidating place to be, is in the weight section of a gym. But that's, in order to get started, you don't need to start with any of that. You don't necessarily need any equipment whatsoever. If we're trying to do exercise with the goal of building muscle strength in mind, whether we're working isolated muscles or we're doing functional movement patterns that work multiple muscle groups at once, we eventually want to start to push those to fatigue in order to build muscle strength. But initially, our main goal is to get confident with the exercises that we've picked. And so to start with, you might not need any equipment at all, because we don't need to start pushing to fatigue straight away. We just need to feel confident doing what we're doing. So you can start doing body weight squats. So you can sit down and stand up from a chair, or not need the chair even at all. So you don't need any equipment, and you're just squatting down and standing back up again. And you just want to feel like you're confident with that movement. Again, deadlifts or lunge or any push-based exercises or pull ones. Initially, you don't necessarily need equipment, and then when you do feel ready to add some resistance, because you will need to add some resistance eventually. Some people say for a squat, or what I call a split squat, which is a version of the lunge, actually they'll find that they can't do many more than 10 or 15, which is actually the fatigue that we want in that range, anywhere within 15 repetitions. But eventually you're probably going to need some equipment. But that equipment doesn't need to be gym equipment as such. That could be a bag with something heavy in, so heavy books or bottles of water. One of the things I really like is bottles of screen wash. They come in 5 litre bottles. They come with a handle. 5 litres is 5 kilograms, so a litre of water is a kilogram. So if you have one in each hand and you're holding the handles, you've automatically got 10 kilos there without having to have bought any heavy, expensive weights or dumbbells or anything like that. They could also be placed into a rucksack, and then that can be on your back, or sometimes I suggest people have it on their front to help with centre of balance. But again, you could then do squats and deadlifts, and you've got your arms free to help for balance. So equipment in the early stages, you don't need a lot of equipment. The thing that you probably would want to add to that is something like a resistance band, because one of the movement patterns that I get people to work on start with is a pull-based action. So you could anchor a band at about shoulder height, and then you can pull the band in towards you and then back out. And whilst you can do that with a weight, a weight will only work downwards with gravity, whereas a resistance band, depending on the height you anchor it at, you can work in more horizontal planes of motion, etc. So I would think about, bottles of water in a bag, and a resistance band is a good starting point, and you can get these resistance bands for as little as £6-7 on Amazon. As you start to progress and you start to feel confident with the exercises, you feel confident pushing muscles to fatigue, you're going to need to add more weight, and that will generally then start to come in the form of a dumbbell, kettlebell, barbell, etc. But for home, adjustable dumbbells is a good starting point with the resistance band. The other option is going to a gym, where now that you're confident with your movement patterns and pushing for fatigue, stepping into a gym now doesn't feel so daunting. And a lot of people at this point actually find that getting out the house to do the workouts and being around other people is really inspiring. So the gyms then obviously have a lot more equipment available. But it's fairly easy to get started with strength training, because you don't have to jump straight to that idea of pushing with heavy weights. It's that continuous progression, and the starting points don't need a lot of equipment and don't need a lot of money spent on it. It just needs time and consistency and practice going through, so 2 or 3 times a week, with that goal in mind that you are going to eventually keep pushing, rather than stay safe and just keep doing what feels easy, because you're probably then not building any strength despite the fact you're moving those muscles. So again, feel free, make sure you do ask any questions if you're watching this live. I'm going to answer the second one of those questions now. So she also asked how much effort is needed to see any changes. So initially you actually can get quite a lot of muscle strength, and it's difficult. The definition of muscle strength is your ability of that muscle to produce force. Now that comes in 2 parts when you start strength training. So the first part is your brain can learn to use the muscle strength you've got in a more efficient manner. So it kind of works out how many muscle fibers it needs at what level to lift a particular amount of weights. And initially, when it's all foreign to it doesn't know how to do that straight away. But the more you practice, the more you feel stronger straight away. So within a week or 2, you can actually start to feel a lot stronger at the start, and you feel like your strength has gone up quite quickly. And then, so you don't need a lot of effort, is pretty much what I'm saying, to get to that point. You'll then find that once your brain has worked out the most efficient way of using those muscles, you'll hit what people refer to as a plateau. So you'll then find that you don't feel like you're going anywhere, and it's demoralizing because you made such good progress in that first 2 or 3 weeks, and now you feel that you haven't really changed. And that's because you now have to wait for the muscles to get stronger and build in size. And the only way you can do that is to break the muscles down slightly, which is what the workouts are intended to do when you're pushing to fatigue. So when you push to fatigue, you sort of make small tears in the muscle, and they basically effectively recover over the next day or 2, and as a result you're stronger and the muscles are slightly grow in size, etc. So you need to push with a lot more effort at that point to get the changes, because if you just stay with what got you to that point where you hit the plateau and you just stay at that level, you're probably not going to get any additional benefit from there. So at that point, you do need to push with a little bit more effort. And that effort comes with the effort of the workout itself and how hard you're pushing those exercises, but also the effort of consistency. And that's a bit that most people don't realise, is that you can't necessarily do this for 2 or 3 weeks, feel stronger, and then leave it again, and that strength is going to last for ages. This is a commitment that you're trying to build in. And again, in the ebook and everything that I work on, is I generally get people to work and have in mind a 12-week program that you're going to work from that confidence building stage to working at some resistance around the 15 repetition mark, and then slowly building down to the 5 repetition mark. And if you can get fatigue to happen there, when you'll need a heavier weight in order, or heavier resistance for that to happen, that's where you really do maximise your time in the gym and you get a lot stronger. So initially, not a huge amount of effort is needed to see change. That will happen quite quickly. But once you reach that fatigue point, you are going to have to adjust what you're doing and put more effort in to see any changes. But again, we need to bear in mind that you've got other restrictions, other pains, fatigue levels, etc., that you do need to listen to. So it's not just suddenly kind of keep up in the effort if you're finding your knees flaring up or anything like that. We do need to adapt around those. But yeah, the effort levels will need to go up at some point. And then the last part of her question was, could this be adapted for weak wrists and a lack of mobility in shoulder? So short answer is yes. Most exercises can be adapted to account for various things, and obviously we're focusing a bit more upper body in this question, so with the wrists and shoulders. But again, for knee pain, etc., there's generally always adaptations and modifications to exercises, or at least the movement patterns that we're trying to achieve, in order to build strength in the muscles around them, which will then help, such as the weak wrists. And often restricted mobility in shoulders can be down to a lack of strength around them, so other muscles guard to try and protect them and don't let the shoulder move. So by building strength in a comfortable way that you can do initially, you often find that mobility improves later down the line and opens up more options to you. But this is the difficult part in getting started, is finding the starting point when you have limited mobility or pains or things that you've tried various movements and they didn't work. So what most people do is just leave that to one side, work on the movement patterns. They do work, do manage and feel good, but that's not likely to change the thing that you really struggle with. So the thing you really struggle with is we need to find a way of doing that. So for example, with weak wrists, if the weakness was something that meant you struggled to hold a dumbbell or a weight, then as I mentioned, we're getting started, you could have a rucksack with bottles of water in the back, and now your wrists are free to work on for using your hands for balance, etc. But the resistance is still on you, it's just not through your wrists. I would argue that you probably want to start to maybe add some weight through the wrists, because in order to get them stronger, you need to push those out of their comfort zone. But if you're not able to lift enough weights to challenge your legs because of your wrists, then adding the bag on is a good option. You can get weighted vests, so they have often little pockets, and the one I've got in the clinic I use has little sandbags, so each sandbag weighs a kilogram, so you can kind of put, I think, up to about 40 or 50 kilograms that you can then have as a vest around your waist. And again, you then don't have to hold anything. Then barbells are often good for this because the bar rests across your back. And this is where it can become difficult, because you often have to hold the bar there, which if you struggle with your wrists or you haven't quite got the shoulder mobility to get back there, then that's something you might... There's something called a safety bar where the bar goes across, but you've also got these things here with handles that you can then do the squats on as well. That kind of covers a bit with the shoulder mobility as well. But another thing for shoulder mobility, so the two main upper body movement patterns that I get people to work through are the push or pull. So push, you're going to push yourself away from, say, the floor, so like a push up, or you're pushing something away from you. And a pull is you're pulling something towards you, or you're pulling yourself up towards a fixed point, like such as a bar, within a pull-up. within those push or pull, you can actually break it down further into, there's vertical push, where you're moving in that vertical plane of motion, or horizontal push. So if you haven't got the mobility to come all the way up here and be able to end up in that position, but you have got the mobility here, then what you can do is, rather than a shoulder press, you could lay on your back and do what we call a chest press or bench press or floor press, depending on where you're laying. But this could be done on a mat, on a floor, holding a dumbbell, and then you're pushing up. And because you're not venturing into that kind of that tight restrictive movement, you find that you can do that comfortably, and then eventually that's likely to carry over onto there. And then if you're laying on a bench, the back of the benches can be either vertical, horizontal, or you can actually have them kind of halfway, so you do them what we call an incline press. Same is for the pull actions, is if you're struggle to do, say, a lat pull down, where you're pulling with a cable machine and the bar attachment down because it's just too sore and uncomfortable up here, then that one I talked about earlier, where you're pulling something towards you and your shoulders are never coming above arm height, then you're getting the movement and the muscle groups with those movement patterns working, and they're starting to develop strength, rather than thinking, I couldn't do that one, I'm just going to leave that movement pattern out and just work on the others, and then that becomes a weak point even further because everything else is getting stronger. So yeah, it's important that we do adapt around weak wrists, lack of mobility, arthritic knee pain, hip stiffness. And that is, like I said before, the most difficult part is finding a start point for you if you try an online program where you can't do one or two of the exercises and they don't give you any other options of what you could, we call them either regressions or modifications to start with. So again, I will just mention the free ebook that you can get, and within each of the movement patterns, so I tend to go through 7 movement patterns, so it's squat, hip hinge, lunge, push, pull, body rotation or trunk rotation, and then carry or gait. The ebook will give you various options for each one so that it helps you get a starting point. So again, nevertaught-to-lift.com/start-here. Other thing you might be interested in is I've got an online course that's a more interactive way of going through the same kind of content. So it's freely available in the ebook, but if you wanted a bit more of an interactive way, but also group calls with myself every week, then there's a Stronger for Life course. So nevertaught-to-lift.com/course, and you'll find out more about that there. So again, no questions come through at the moment. So if you are watching this live and you've got any questions for me about how you could start strength training as an older adult, or not necessarily starting, how you can progress if you've already started, or any sticking points you have, then please use the chat feature if you're on YouTube, and you can ask me your questions there. Or if you are on Facebook, then do leave a comment in the comment below the video, and that will come through to me. Having talked about the Stronger for Life course there, I actually had one of the group calls, I do them at 10:30 on a Wednesday, and I had someone come on there and ask me that she's had the flu over the last couple of weeks. She did have a week off last week. She still doesn't feel herself. She feels not quite right. Should she still work out if she feels unwell? And is it a case, her question was, is it a case that you can push through to make yourself feel better? Or is it a hard and fast rule that you need to wait till you feel better in order to do it? And is she just making excuses for herself? And she's a little bit confused about that. And like with a lot of questions, it depends is often the answer. If you're feeling really unwell, you have no energy, then you certainly don't want to go and push yourself to fatigue with all the exercises. But there is something to be said about turning up and just going through a few motions of some movement patterns that can be beneficial, particularly if you do your workout is for mental health type benefits as well, which I know a lot of people, if they can't do a workout or they can't go for a run or a walk, they feel down about things, and that can then think, well, if I'm not doing any of that, I'm probably not going to worry about what I'm eating, and it can create a bit of a spiral. So just turning up, it doesn't even need to be to a gym, just getting an exercise mat out. Don't worry about picking up any weights. Just go through some of the movement patterns, through the motions, and if you feel terrible, then just stop. But actually, you might find that you feel a lot better from doing it. But like I said, I certainly wouldn't push. If you've got down to the point where you're close to your 5 repetition max, so you're starting to reach fatigue at 5-6 repetitions, and you were going to try and lift more weight next week to try and better or get your PB or personal best. If you're not feeling well and you haven't felt well for a week, then I would suggest not doing it. This particular person had only just recently started the Stronger for Life course. She had created her plan, and she'd gone through the goal planning process that talks about in the ebook and the course. And she'd done her first of each of the workouts, so she still wasn't quite at the point where she's fully confident pushing to muscle fatigue anyway. So for her, I said, for the next couple of weeks, don't even worry about pushing and getting to the point and put any pressure to push to fatigue and pick up heavy weights. If you can go turn up, and even if you split the workout into a couple of workouts, shorter ones, just turn up and do it a little bit. And the Atomic Habits book I mentioned earlier that you can win as part of the giveaway, that talks about that. Is if you normally work out for an hour and you've only got 15 minutes one day to work out, if you turn up and do that 15-minute short workout, you can still tick it off as I did a workout that day, rather than if you didn't do anything, you feel like, well, I didn't do it, and then that one day not doing it can turn into 3 or 4, and then again that can have a demoralizing effect as well. So yeah, very difficult. Some people do need to just pull themselves back again, because if they turn up, they don't have the ability to just hold themselves back and do little bits. They'll push too hard and then they'll suffer for it as a result. So you might be one of those people that do need to rest. But if you're someone who can feel comfortable doing less than normal, then I would consider, if you're not feeling terrible and you just feel a bit unwell still, like let's say she was a week after her main illness where she did take a week off, but now she's just not 100%, then you might find that doing that little bit of workout actually makes you closer to feeling 100%, rather than sitting feeling sorry for yourself for another week. It takes you longer to feel like you've got the energy levels back again. So yeah, I hope that resonates with a few of you there. So generally I come on with a few pre-planned questions, so I've kind of gone through everything that I've worked on. So out of the people watching live now, if you do have any questions, then now's your last chance to put them in the box, in the chat box on the right, or the comments box under the Facebook video. If you are watching the replay of this, then again, still do put in the comments of the YouTube video and the comments of the Facebook your questions in there, because I will come back and check it before next week's call. And I'd like to answer any questions that you have, or endeavour to do that in next week's, if not definitely a future week. As a reminder, next week's call is going to be at 9 o'clock and not 12 o'clock, because I have a prior commitment of a talk I'm doing somewhere else. But then the week after, we're going to go back to the 12 o'clock. From there, again, bit of a request. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like the video by clicking the thumbs up underneath it, and click subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any future videos. If you're watching this on Facebook, again, please do the same, little thumbs up on there, and make sure you follow Never Taught to Lift or Chris Tiley Physiotherapy to make sure you don't miss out on those. If you're interested in the ebook, the link again, it's nevertaughtolift.com/start-here, and you can get that for free. If you wanted a paperback copy of that, then you can get that on Amazon, so just search Never Taught to Lift. If you wanted to win a paperback copy, as well as Atomic Habits, as well as the kind of physical copy of the Goal Planner, and a £20 voucher to spend in the Never Taught to Lift store, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, water bottles, etc., then in the link below this, or in the description below, is a link for the giveaway, and you can find that there. And then lastly, if you are interested, then I've also got the Stronger for Life course, where it's a more interactive way of finding out all that same information. It's all done in little video about 5-10 minute videos that you kind of work through in various modules. And you also get access to the weekly group Q&A sessions with me, where you get a chance to ask me any questions, sticking points, or if there's any of the variations of the exercises aren't working for you, I can help you problem solve and find a starting point from there. But for now, no other questions that have come through, so we'll finish up there, and I'll see you next week at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Okay, thank you.